Now, the second formula that we're responsible for, and it's the formula that you also studied when you were in grade 11, is the compound interest formula. Now, one thing that was really important about compound interest was that when you're talking about compound interest, you're actually making interest on interest. So, in other words, the interest is reinvested and some more is earned and it's reinvested for the length of time that the investment has is been invested for. Now here we can see that it's a little more complicated formula. There's quite a few more variables, but let's take a look at them. They're really not that bad. Okay, A is the amount of the investment. So in other words, it's that P plus I that we talked about when we talked about the simple interest formula. So in other words, the compound interest formula doesn't calculate just the interest. It calculates the interest plus the original principal. So obviously the P still stands for principal. Okay, and the I is the one that we have to watch out for. It's one of the ones. So it's interest rate per compounding period. Now, when we're talking about the word per, and it translates to dividing actually, and for some reason that doesn't want to show up. So actually, per means dividing in mathematics. And N stands for the total number of times interest is paid. So if we're talking about 4 years, it might be four, but if we're talking about how it's being compounded, it might be more than that, or it could be less than that. So this is another area. So what are the two things that we have to watch out for when we're using this formula is the interest rate per compounding period and the total times interest is paid. So when we're talking about time, and we had time as being a problem with the simple interest formula, we're talking about what we call compounding frequencies. So compounding frequencies is going to affect both our N as well as our I. So annually, compounding annually means they're going to pay you interest one time per year. Semi-annually, 2 times per year. Monthly, 12. Weekly was 52. Bi-weekly, because some people pay their mortgages bi-weekly, is 26. And daily, it would be 365. So, as I said, we have to watch out for the compounding frequencies when we're calculating our N and our I. So let's look at an example. We have Jake invests $5,000 into an account that pays 5% per year compounded monthly for 3 years. How much interest did he earn? Okay, so let's look at this. So we have compounded monthly. As soon as I see the word compounded, I know I'm going to use the compound interest formula. So we know that the compound interest formula is A equals P bracket 1 plus I, all of that bracket to the power of n. As we did with the simple interest formula, sometimes it's nice to have all of those variables listed down the side. So let's take a look at first P. P stands for principal, and if we go back to the question, we can see that the principal that Jack is investing is $5,000. Then if we look at I stands for, remember, the interest rate per compounding period. Now, because we're talking about monthly, we're going to divide by 12, and our interest rate was 5%. So we change the 5% to a decimal, and we divide the per part compounding frequency. So that's why we're dividing by 12. Again, you can let your calculator do that in the main formula, or you can actually calculate it here. Okay, in most cases, I leave mine like that. And the last thing what we're looking at is N. So N, remember, if I look at the definition of it, was total times interest is paid. Well, they're going to pay Jack 12 times in 1 year, and he's investing it for 3 years. So we end up with 12 times 3, which is 36. So now it's just again a matter of substituting all of that information into our formula. And as I said, I make my calculator do all the calculations for me, and I end up with $5,807.36. Now, the thing is, we're not finished this question because the question didn't ask for the amount of the investment. It asked for how much interest did he earn. And remember, this formula gives us both the principal and the interest added together. So we have to go and use interest equals the amount of the investment minus the original principal. And you can see when we do that, that Jack has made $807.36 in interest. Okay, so again, putting a therefore statement and making sure that I'm using a dollar sign and that my money is being rounded to the nearest cent. Okay, so there are the two formulas that you studied, two of the formulas that you studied in grade 11. And next lesson, we'll look at one other formula that you spent some time on last year as well. So practice these two formulas, make sure that you understand how they both work.